Earlier, I spoke to Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio about that. Senator Marco Rubio joins us now. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning. How are you?
So when you look, I'm doing very well, thank you. Another busy morning for Washington. And when we look at where we are with immigration, these deadlines quickly approaching, and you see this latest bipartisan plan put forward by Coons and McCain, why even bother? Why put forward a plan that does not include one of the president's biggest demands, funding for a border wall?
Well, I think everyone's just trying to figure out how to make a breakthrough here and what our starting point should be. I'm not sure that Senator Coons offered that as the final bill. I think his argument is this is where we should start from and build off of that. We haven't even agreed on what the starting point is. Look, the president has a plan. He clearly wants to do border security. We support that. I support it. And he wants to do something about people under DACA. But in order to do something for people under DACA, if you're going to do citizenship, that, by the way, a lot of people in my party don't support, then you have to do the chain migration part, because otherwise, once they gain citizenship, they'll be able to use that to bring the relatives who violated the law. And so that's how this thing begins to get more complicated. So we're going to continue to work. Obviously, perhaps the starting point will be the president's 4 pillars. My argument is we need to have a plan B that does border security and something for the people that are under DACA now in case all else fails, because the border security part is very important too.
You just wonder how a deal will ever get done, or if one will ever get done, if you've got deals being put forward that don't include the border wall, which is one of the president's biggest demands. Where does this leave us with 2 big deadlines quickly approaching? You've got the deadline to fund the government Friday, and then you've got the March 5th DACA deadline.
Right. I wouldn't worry too much about people putting out ideas. Ultimately, there's going to be a debate on the floor. Things are going to be added or taken out. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. I don't think any of that slows down the progress. There will be a starting point bill. No matter where we start from, there'll be a huge debate. People are going to want to add things in or take things out. And in the end, we'll have a final product, and then it has to pass the House and be signed by the president. So I don't think people thinking about it and putting things out in is of itself an impediment, so long as that is not their take it or leave it proposition. And that's not that's not the sense I get from the people I've talked to.
Now, we've got this back and forth happening with the controversial memo this morning, and now it's memos because the House Intel Committee approved the release of the Democrat version of their memo, countering the FISA memo that was released by the Republicans and ultimately the president. Should the president make that Democrat memo public?
Yeah, look, I think what we need to do in this is make sure that there's no methods or sources that are being compromised, and then put out the information. The memo raises questions about the way the FISA process works. I want to be clear, I'm not sure that it has anything to do directly with the investigation writ large. The investigation is about a lot more than just this individual Carter Page. But I do think it raises questions about the FISA process that need to be answered. But ultimately, that is separate in my mind from the broader investigation, including the work we're doing in the intelligence
committee. It sounds to me like you're a fan of getting both memos out there in order to bring transparency. Do you think the president will do this?
Well, I don't know what he'll do. Obviously, I don't think we can reveal sources or methods, but I do think at this point, transparency is best, so that there's no he said, she said, or any sort of mysterious information out there that no one's heard about in order to avoid conspiracy theories. But even while we learn more about the FISA process and whether it was appropriately used, I think it's important to understand, and the CIA director himself has said it, that the Russians are and will continue to try to sow conflict in our country for purposes of disrupting elections, whether or not they get the outcome they want.
Senator, I normally wouldn't ask you about the stock market, but I have to do that this morning. There has been an immense amount of volatility, and this is something that the president has closely aligned himself with. He has touted the success of the economy, the success of the American stock market, and now we have seen all of the gains from 2018 erased. Quite frankly, in a single trading session. Does that concern you at all?
No, stock markets rise and fall. I think it's largely a reaction to actually good economic numbers. They think inflation might be coming. I don't think the stock market is something you can follow on a day-by-day basis. I think it's a long-term proposition, so there'll be gains and there'll be losses, but in the end, it'll all even out.
That seems to be the stance of the White House this morning. And lastly, I want to ask you about your efforts on paid family leave. Normally something we hear from Democrats a lot about. This is an effort you have taken on along with the president's daughter, Ivanka Trump. What are you pushing for here, and are you winning over any Republican support for this?
Well, we're just beginning the work. You know, the president mentioned it last week in the State of the Union as a priority of his. That's a good thing. As conservatives, we're pro-family, and the ability to allow families to stay home longer with their children after the birth of a child without putting a mandate or a burdensome requirement on their employer is a positive thing that we should be for.
Do you think that you're going to get some more support from Republicans?
Well, we have some work to do to explain it. We have to have a proposal, but we're working hard on it, and I feel optimistic.
It's something that you have showed a lot of passion for. Senator Marco Rubio, we always appreciate having you on America's Newsroom. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.